A penny for your thoughts on our gospel reading this Sunday. I'm curious what is going through your head as you listen to these words. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. When someone strikes you on your right cheek, turn the other one as well. If anyone wants to go to law with you over your tunic, hand over your cloak as well. And should anyone press you into service for 1 mile, go for 2 miles. Now, these words are really hard to swallow and even much more difficult to digest, since this involves a very touchy and painful human experience: injustice. Now, I can understand if anyone struggles to understand and integrate these words in the light of our own personal experiences of injustices and evil inflicted on us either by the others or by life in general. Justice is engraved not only in our being, but in the world in general, because order and harmony in nature, in the world, and in every society demands justice. Therefore, every time injustice appears, we naturally react dramatically. We see this even in nature. The animals, for example, whenever they feel threatened, they instinctively react even with violence. If this is true among animals, how much more in us, in which the demand and desire for justice is deeply engraved in our hearts. Justice as a virtue is a constant and permanent determination to give everyone his or her rightful due. When the balance of justice is offset because of injustice, then comes the natural demand to restore this balance. The lex talionis, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, was the primitive way of managing injustices in order to avoid retaliation and escalation of violence. It was a way to return to one status quo. However, we know from our personal experiences that the return to status quo is never enough to repair the harm, injustice, or evil done to us by others. We continue to harbor resentment or ill feelings, and our relationship with anyone with whom we had conflicts with hardly returns to normal. In other words, the cycle of violence continues. This is why what Jesus Christ proclaims in the Sermon on the Mount is very important, because this is the answer of God to all the injustices in the world. These words of the gospel were fulfilled in the cross of Christ. The cycle of violence as a consequence of injustices, retaliations, and retributions have gone on for so long. And in the cross of Christ, it was as if he said, "The buck stops here and now." The only answer of God, all the injustices, is Jesus Christ taking upon himself these injustices and nailing them on the wood of the cross. And from there, he proclaimed and gave all of us a unique gift, the forgiveness of our sins. When he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing." It's incredible. He not only forgave us, but he excused our transgressions, our injustices. Jesus Christ is able to say to us today, "Love your enemies," because this is exactly what he did to each of us. And indeed, even today, he continues to love us as his enemies. We can only begin to make sense of these words of the gospel when we begin to realize that we have committed many injustices ourselves in our sins and transgressions. And in Jesus Christ, God has carried upon his shoulders our sins without reproaching us. And even more wonderfully, he has forgiven us. Happy Sunday, and God bless us all.